My name's Francesca. I'm the founder of the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, and welcome to our very first Disruptive Minds task force with Vodafone Business. Today, we're going to be investigating how SMEs can focus on staying afloat and overcoming the hurdles that they're facing in the aftermath of COVID-19. We've all entered a new year and it seems like we've had 4 seasons already, but it's really a time where business owners are to reflect on what went well and what they struggled with in the previous year. And the reason that we're doing these Disruptive Mind sessions is to spark conversations that matter, feeding fresh insights into the small business community based on expert understanding to help drive SME growth in the UK. Today, we're really fortunate to be joined by a number of people who've been involved in the Great British Entrepreneur Awards programme and who truly are Great British Entrepreneur alumni and Great British entrepreneurs. We've got Noman Ahmed of Crep Protect, Rimi Thapar of LoveRaw, Dave Linton of Mad Lug, Joe Binder of Wow, and Abigail Baldwin of Buttercrumble. There will be an opportunity during this session to ask questions. If you've got a question you'd like to ask, please pop it into the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and we'll do our very best to answer them throughout the session. So without further ado, we'll get started. And I think that the best way to get started is always by way of introductions. So I'm going to pick on you in the order that you appear on my screen. So Dave, we'd love to hear from you first, a little bit about yourself and about Mad Lug and your journey.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So Dave Linton, and I'm the founder of Mad Lug. Basically, there are 90,000 children and young people in care across the UK, and one moving every 15 minutes, and most with their belongings in black plastic bin bags. So I'm using business basically to give kids proper bags, and the answer to that is Mad Lug, make a difference luggage. So we sell bags. Every time we sell a bag, we give a bag to an incredible child or young person in the care system for free. And to date, in the 7 years, we've been able to help nearly 66,000 children. So that's Mad Lug, that's Dave.
That's incredible. Thank you, Dave. Abigail, can I come to you next?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. It's really lovely to be on the panel today. I co-founded the creative studio Buttercrumble alongside my twin sister. And we're really here to set your business's stage for magic by granting the power of self-expression. And we do this through graphic design, branding, illustration. We're really here for those who are fun finders. We set up 5 years ago now, and we're partnering with organisations all across the UK. And we've even started exporting into the US. So it's been a really exciting journey for us, and we're looking forward to sharing more about this.
Fantastic. Thanks, Abigail. Joe, can I come to you?
Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Lovely to be here. My name's Joe. I'm 25. I'm from London. I'm the founder of Wow. Wow builds personal brands for founders and CEOs, whether they're just starting out in business or they're super high profile like James Khan and Tej Lavani from Dragon's Den, who are a couple of our clients. I want to quickly pick up on something that Fran said, which is that we've all entered a new year, but it feels like we've had 4 seasons already, which is just so true. And I'm sure everyone in the audience can really resonate with that. I started my business 4 years ago. We've recently hit the 1 mil ARR mark, which I was really proud of. And we're a team of, I think it's 16 or 17 now. And yeah, COVID was an interesting time. So I'm really excited to be here and to speak to everyone.
Thank you, Joe. Rimi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rimi and founder and CEO of LoveRaw. So LoveRaw is a vegan plant-based chocolate, and we do heritage vegan versions of heritage favorites. So we have buttercups, we have milk choc bars, and we have wafer bars as well. So we are currently the UK's fastest growing vegan chocolate company, and we're retailed in places such as Holland & Barrett and Boots, Asda, Waitrose, and many independents. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And definitely try the Buttercups. They are absolutely incredible. My top one. Noman, can I come to you next?
Hi everyone, I'm Noman Ahmed. I'm one of the founders of the brand Crep Protect. I always start off by saying, if you don't know Crep Protect, your kids definitely do. So we are a premium shoe care brand. We were founded in 2013, founded the business alongside myself and my two brothers. We've had, so really what our quest was really to transform the shoe care industry. Shoe care has been around many, many years. You buy it because you almost feel sorry for the person behind the till. You go home, you throw it in your bathroom sink. There's no brand interaction. There is no business longevity, and we wanted to change that. We've had some great successes over the years. We are now distributed in 52 countries worldwide. Key clients include Foot Locker, JD Sports, ASOS, and global partners. 2018, we were the second fastest growing business in the UK. And in the 7th in the whole of Europe. So we thank our clients and our customers for supporting us, and happy to be here.
Wow. Completely inspired by all of you. Incredible stories. I'm going to start with quite a general question. And the way I think today will work is I will throw a question at individuals. But if you feel like you've got something to say and I haven't come to you on a point, please do jump in. Let's try and make this feel as much like we're in a real life environment, sort of having a conversation as possible. So I wonder when we're going to stop talking about this, but the pandemic is, obviously something that was a hard time for everyone, especially small to medium-sized businesses. We've all faced challenges that we probably never would have experienced before. And I'd just like to find out, what are some of the main challenges, because we're looking completely across industries here, that you faced as an SME during the pandemic. And Dave, I'm going to pick on you first.
Yeah, so COVID lands and basically people stop buying bags because nobody travels. And that's our main source of funding to basically do our social impact as a business. And I remember the people around me were kind of like, save your cash. We had a couple of months cash reserve, save your cash, put your anchor in, and this will go away in a few months. And I was wrestling with that, with a feeling of I didn't want to stop. And I went to the board of that we have, and one of the guys says, look, Dave, you're either in business or you're not. We're not going to furlough anybody. Just do what you do best, and that's get creative. And so we just went for it. And to be honest, every week I felt like I was losing, and I kept telling the team, like, let's get creative. Let's think outside the box here, and let's see any sense of loss. Let's turn the mindset on that to be seen as an investment. So we're investing money this time to grow. But actually at 6 months, when all I can say is it felt like I was losing the whole time. Well, 6 months into that, I remember there was a grant came out, and it was based on the year before and your projected year losses. And when I did my figures, because I had no time, I was so reacting to kind of like every wave that was hitting you. I was reacting. I had no time to kind of sit and go down like, oh, here's cash flow projections, here's all this. And I remember getting the accountant to send our figures, and actually we were more profitable than the year before. So the learning for me was, if I had to stop, there was no guarantee of getting started. But actually I made the best leadership decisions because I was reacting to waves and I didn't have a lot of time. And then as a result of that, we then got a phone call saying from IKEA saying, can you supply us 12,000 bags in a couple of months, because we want to give your bags to each of our staff. And if we had stopped, we would never have been able to deliver on that. But because we were here and present, we were able to keep going. So my learning was be courageous, and don't always follow the cultural influence, because the cultural influence would have stopped me, and probably I wouldn't be here today because of that. So the challenge is that you just have to be really, in my view, business changes and it's very different now. Now we're entering into a new climate of with an economic challenge there. So that's the nature of business, I think, and I think COVID taught me how to be a leader in that kind of space.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. That's really interesting. Noman, can I come to you next?
Sorry, I was talking while I was on mute. Sorry, I think it's important for all businesses just to be versatile. I think no one saw the pandemic coming, and even then when it did come, everyone's like, yeah, by the summer it should be all right, and then yeah, by 2021 it should be all right. But we're still talking about in 2022. Unfortunately for us, we are a business that really relies on retail. We have transformed not only the products, but what we wanted to create is recreating a whole category. And to interact with consumers at retail is very different to then interact and win them over online. It's a completely different ball game. So for us, we really took the time out to plan. And know when retail does come back on, we knew that the consumer behavioral changes will be very much online based, and we have seen that. So although someone wouldn't usually buy online, prefer to go to the shopping centers, would now easily buy online, because a lot of the businesses really transformed their business to allow that convenience. So for us, it was about how do we drive people back into retail? And how do we really drive our retail fixtures? How do we really drive that consumer back at retail with excitement? So for us, it was about being versatile. We had to be versatile. We couldn't be naive. But at the same time, everyone, even including our competitors, were all in the same position. So luckily for us, we have been a global sensation for a number of years that allowed us to be secure. But more importantly, it just gave us a shock to say, listen, we can't continue to do the same thing every single day. It's about being versatile, being innovative, and really disrupting retail. For example, it's similar. We compare ourselves to what Red Bull done to the energy drinks industry. We are Crep Protect, we are Shuka. How sexy can Shuka be, right? So really for us, it was really about driving that innovative angle for us. We signed up new partnerships with NBA, with Adidas, to really just revitalize the industry, because generally attitudes after COVID what became quite reserved. There was a very much online culture. I know online was great. Our Amazon business increased, our DTC business increased, but really to drive personality of the brand and interact with consumers at retail, we are big advocates of brick and mortar.
Thank you so much. Rimi, I'd love to hear what your experiences are and whether they were similar. Obviously, when we first joined the call, I talked about how I seem to see you now in every supermarket or shop I go into. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that question.
Yeah, sure. I do agree to a certain extent with Noman. By the way, I do have a can of Crep Protect and I love it. So, but we're very much a retail product. We're an impulse product. We're not too much of a direct to consumer. So when the pandemic hit and everybody was, shopping for toilet rolls, we joke about it now, but that was it. Essentially, consumers went out with a shopping list. They went to the supermarket. They weren't shopping impulsively, and they weren't having an opportunity to browse. So they were just sticking to their grocery list, and we really suffered in that part, because we're not in the big four. We're in Asda now, only in the last 18 months, and Waitrose, but we weren't in Tesco and Sainsbury's and Asda back then. We were in a lot of maybe independents and food service, and that's where consumers weren't. And again, shoppers were looking for brands that they trusted and they were familiar with. So they were just shopping what they knew. They weren't picking up maybe new brands. They weren't diverting away from what they knew. So and also you had consumers shopping in convenience channels. So maybe not supermarkets. They were going to their petrol station forecourt where they had a little supermarket there, and that's where we weren't. So when the pandemic hit, you know, we did suffer quite a lot. Our sales did dip, and it was literally overnight as well. So we sat down and we re-strategized. We had to move quickly, and I think that's really important. As a business, you have to be dynamic, and I think that's to our advantage. You know, as an SME, we can make quick decisions. It's not bureaucratic. It doesn't have to go through kind of several departments. And you know, we had plans for our direct consumer model in 2023. We brought that forward, so we pretty much went online straight away. And we also had, you know, a social ambassador program in which we kind of brought forward as well, you know, influencers, and we use social media by a way of a platform to get out to consumers, and also brand building. So our short-term strategy was to build our direct to consumer model, which we hadn't really focused on before, and our long-term strategy was to build the brand building, because everybody was at home, they're on social media, they're bored, but we had to act quickly, because you know there's going to be kind of a cycle of all the companies trying to do social media ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. So we jumped on it right away. Luckily, we've got a great product in the sense that it's chocolate. People, you know, in a crisis, people still love chocolate, makes them feel better, cheers them up. And we sent it out to all, you know, influencers between 1 and 10 million. We didn't pay them. They genuinely liked the brand, you know, and it was creating content for them, where usually they would be getting out and about. We're giving them product to shoot content with. So it was beneficial for both of us. And you know, lastly, we were working on new products, and we thought we still have to go ahead with this. We can't stop just because there's, you know, a pandemic, and it was uncertain as to what the future was of it. But we thought it's not going to go away short term. It's going to be around for quite a while. So we just carried on as a business as much as we could. And that really, you know, as Dave was saying, you know, after 6 months, for us, we pedaled, and it was only after about 8-9 months in which we really started to see our rate of sale pick up again. So, you know, the efforts that you do put in, just be patient. It's not going to come straight away, but it will come.
Yeah, I can see lots of nods from both Dave and Noman there. Obviously, Joe and Abigail, you guys were in a completely different situation, with, you know, not dependent on retail being open, not depending on bricks and mortar stores. Joe, I'm going to come to you next, because I remember when I think we spoke in probably April 2020, and we did a recorded Zoom talking about that word that everyone hates now, but it was pivot, and how you sort of changed and adapted, and agility and change seems to be central to the conversation here. So Joe, I'd love to get your take on it, but also just to add, you mentioned at the beginning your team has grown significantly during a time where you know, you've been out of the office. And Emily asks, have you needed to consider sort of new technologies and new ways of managing that team as it grows?
So for context, so we build personal brands for founders and CEOs, and what that means is, on a nitty-gritty level, we will produce content with those founders, with those CEOs, and put it on their social media with the hope of raising their profile and building their following. And so on the challenges front, I remember we had one campaign which was just going so well. It was like our golden campaign. And probably just over 2 years ago, I got a call from the founder. I was very excited to take the call. And they said, hey, our revenue's just gone to zero, essentially overnight with the new regulations brought in by the government. We can no longer be a client. And I felt like the world had kind of ended. That was a golden client. And then a similar thing happened with another client. They had to pause our campaign. And all of a sudden, we were in a position where we had very little revenue. The team at the time, that there were 2 of us. So my main focus was, oh shit, what do I do? And then just trying to figure out a way to bring in new clients or keep and retain the existing clients. But within the context of what we do, we need to be the ones advising people what the best ways of communicating are when there's a ton of uncertainty, not just in their industry, not just in the UK, but globally. And there are so many layers to that. If you advise a CEO of a 100-person company to take a stand on something, then you're not just speaking to their audience on social media, you're speaking to their 100 employees, some of whom may have family members who have been sick from COVID or even died from COVID. So the talk of the silver linings may not land very well if your boss is talking about that and your relative has just died. So you've got to be so sensitive on that front. There are wider stakeholders and investors in businesses. So the whole communication landscape was a real challenge, but that's something that we just had to navigate as we went on. The reality of our business, as Fran mentioned, was that we're a digital business. We, as a company, don't rely on footfall. So in hindsight, over the past 2 years, we have benefited a lot from the wider move to online. What's happened is people haven't been able to continue their in-person networking and the events that they would go to, the conferences they would speak at, and so on. But those people still wanted to build and craft their reputation. And so the obvious choice for them was, let's do this online, which then led them to the concept of personal branding, and therefore to an agency like mine or one of the other agencies that do what we do. But in terms of pivoting at the time, my focus was, okay, we're losing these clients, it's game over for them and there's nothing we can do. How do we get more clients? This was one period where I really kind of shifted my strategy away from just making noise to an audience and hoping more people would see it, but actually trying to guarantee that certain types of people would see it. So I remember creating like an Excel spreadsheet, black book style of 100 people. And I thought, right, the next few weeks are going to be slow, and they definitely were. So what can I do to make sure that in this metaphorical room that I'm speaking in on stage in front of an audience, i.e. my LinkedIn audience, how can I ensure that there are more of the right type of people in that audience? And then it became a very admin heavy, personalized message to each person, personalized follow-ups and so on, trying to essentially network like that and then bring those people into this metaphorical room, i.e. my LinkedIn audience, to then be able to continue with building my own personal brand so that other potential clients would gravitate towards us. In terms of technology, we had face-to-face communication. That was what we had at the time. But now we have Slack. Everything goes on Slack. We speak to our clients over Slack. We speak to our colleagues over Slack. Everything is there. We have much more formality around how we operate as a business and how we operate as individuals within that business. Everything from when we would send an email to when we could just call someone on the phone to when we would send somebody a Slack message, all the way down to how we actually save things and how we manage ongoing projects within the team. So as the team started to grow and as we started to interview people and hire people without ever meeting them, bring on clients without ever meeting them, we had to do a lot more of that wider process and systems piece, which depended on using the right technology. So I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Abigail, did you notice sort of similar pattern to what Joe described? Because I think that, as Rimi mentioned, when we're going into the pandemic, or when we're in the pandemic, chocolate is an obvious product that makes you feel happy, that makes people feel good. You've got the things that you absolutely need around your house. But did you find that you were losing clients at the beginning of the pandemic with uncertainty? Was it a scary time, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I think it was really strange because when that first lockdown was announced, it did everything went quiet. I remember everyone got sent home, and then for about a month, it was really difficult to get in touch with everyone because people had been furloughed or they were working from home and they didn't have, the infrastructure set up around remote working yet. So that was really challenging, just to try and get in touch with clients when they had been furloughed or they'd lost their job, and that was really worrying. However, we knew that we needed to be there for our community, and I think once everyone had kind of realised, we're locked down and this is here to stay, it's not just a little holiday of watching this morning on the sofa for a little while. You know, this is serious. People started to kind of get back into the swing of working from home, and then business really boosted. A lot of people wanted to do more design, to go on their social media and websites, and everyone always needs designs and visuals. So after that immediate downturn, where there was a bit of, you know, panic stations, things did turn around. And I think the reason we were able to kind of nurture people and get them kind of back into their business was just by genuinely caring about them and keeping in touch and offering extra value. So we released a lot of resources around design and branding and creativity. We gave a lot of kind of complimentary support. We partnered with the British Library to offer support. All of those things really help to kind of build people's confidence back up. And then we've just been at kind of, 100% productivity since. Yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster.
It's definitely that. And I think, one of the things that's coming out from what you're all saying is that actually being human and being sensitive to what's sort of going on in the wider world is been really important to getting through, this roller coaster. We've talked about reaching consumers, but I'd love to find out about whether the pandemic caused shifts in your work culture and employee environment. And Noman, I'm going to come to you again first, because you're sort of steering the ship on, one of the UK's fastest growing businesses, one of Europe's fastest growing businesses. How do you do that when you can't sit around a meeting table like you might have done previously? And what were your experiences?
It was definitely challenging. I think we're especially myself and our senior leadership team, we really thrive on personality and connecting with someone emotionally as well. We have a very, very close relationship with all our key clients all over the world. We're stocked in close to 20,000 stores. So we really keep that personable interaction. For example, we were just in LA, Vegas the other week. We then fly to Dubai to see clients. So we travel a lot, and not being able to do that and really just interacting on the screen. We're not a business that does a hard sell. That's not in our culture. Our culture was very much around empowering our clients and our consumers with knowledge, and really focusing on inputs and really allowing the sale to come later on. We've never been an advocate of the push sell. We've been very, very focused on the pull sell, and we've done that around social media. We've done that around influencer marketing. We've done that with collaboration from Deli Ali to DJ Khaled. So really, really interacting with our consumer and letting the consumer come to us. And that really drives business longevity. And to try to do that without a face-to-face interaction, we had to shift. We had to shift, but it really allowed us to focus on content. We really focused on our content, and in terms of our culture, certain departments really rely on face-to-face contact. For example, if you look at our department, for example, the sales and the production guys, they really bounce off each other in a brainstorming. You get a lot more done. However, our content creation and our finance department, they were very much remote. We have a workforce of close to about 130 people strong in 4 global regions. So really, it allowed us to really set times every week to speak to people, where traditionally we wouldn't really, because we always took it for granted. So I think it was either Zoom, Google, or Teams. Everyone got better technically, to be honest. Everyone's a whiz-and now on these platforms. But I think in terms of culture-wise, we still very much prefer everyone to be in the office and interact, but there was definitely no pressure to always be in the office. But in terms of 100% remote located. Our business, how we're shaped, I don't think that was the way forward for us. It was definitely became more flexible. We were quite lucky because we're internationally traded brand. So for us, COVID hit different regions at different maturity levels. So I know we're talking about SMEs, but really trading internationally and understanding the cultures everywhere. For example, Southeast Asia, they were very late on even coming back to normality. We still have restrictions in Australia and Canada. So cultures in our different regions differed. But to have one HQ, which is in London, where I'm based, to steer the ship around flexible working worked. But really, we were having a lot of interaction and brainstorming with much more wider groups, which was really good.
Fantastic, thank you. Dave, what about yourself? How and then what did you implement to ensure that you encouraged a positive environment? And as Noman mentioned there, you know, as we're returning to normality, what's the sort of future of that working culture and environment for Mad Lug?
Yeah, I think for us, what it did was we were forced into working remotely. No one was buying bags, so there was no need for us to be in the office. We were doing creative stuff, investing. We're probably mostly back to an office work because we're a local workforce. Apart from we've got systems in place, the likes of Slack, we use now instead of just talking. We have planned meetings instead of just talking as we go through the working week. And also those systems have allowed us to use freelance workers a lot more. So we have people in UK, mainland UK, who are part of our team, who come and sit as part of on our staff meetings, feel part of it as freelancers because we've been able to implement a lot of the technology that has enabled that to happen, where before we wouldn't have even thought of that, to be honest. So that's it's opened our eyes to the potential of recruitment, the potential of getting the right voices, the right skill set, the right relationships, you know, so that with people in the markets that we're trying to sell to. So that's been our experience. We're still a relatively small team. I think one of the ways we addressed it was it was more about managing the risk of the business. So once things started selling again, we didn't want the whole team to be out with COVID. So we were doing remote working purely to protect the business a lot of the time, so that we had at least 2 or 3 people still able to make the business function. So we were rotating our work to make that happen rather than us just keeping safe in many ways.
Yeah. And Remy, I can see you're in the office there and lots of people behind you. It'd be great to know what COVID was like for you in that respect and where you're going in the future.
I think even before the pandemic hit, we did have contingency plans in case everybody needed to work from home. So we had already had maybe cloudless systems in place, so everybody can just work from home from their kind of computer. And we use, as Joe and Dave mentioned, we also use Slack instead of email, and use that as communicating. And we use applications such as Monday Board and Asana, which is really good. So you can create projects with what you're working on and to interact with your team. So we had kind of technology in place. Everything was in place. It was just the not knowing and everybody going home uncertain. So we packed everybody's Macs up so they can take their Macs at home, because sometimes working on a laptop is, you know, all day is a little bit difficult. And I think what's really important is just to, when there was so much uncertainty, nobody knew what was going on, everybody was a bit scared and apprehensive. As a team, the security of your job was just about reassuring your team as well that, look, we're going to keep going. We've re-strategized, and to keep everybody cohesive, you know, we introduced something called a daily huddle. So at 12 o'clock, we came in and you know, everybody would say what their good news was for the day and also shared their frustrations. And we had a daily challenge, you know, kicking the toilet roll, how many times they could do that, or daily squats. And then when we, you know, at the end, maybe a few months later, we had a prize of going away for a weekend or dinner for two. So it just was something to keep them motivated. And because I know some people love working from home, but for some individuals, working from home can be quite painful, you know, especially if you're living on your own and you didn't have a garden, and, you know, it was quite lonely. So it's just knowing that you're there. And we are very much team, you know, we're an FMCG product and we work very closely together. And at that point in time, there was about 12 of us. There's about 18 of us now. So it was just making sure that we all checked in with each other. So for the first lockdown, we were working from home. But then after that, as a food business, we were all in the office because we were the supply chain into food retail.
Fantastic. Thank you, Remy. And Abigail, what about yourself? What about your experiences there?
So we've come back into the studio because, like what everyone's mentioned, I do think to build that culture, it's so important to have that face-to-face connection. And as much as, you know, Zoom and Teams and the like have been lifesavers, I don't think they can ever replace that kind of physical human connection. And like Remy says, you know, not everyone has a garden or they're living alone. Their home might not be the most ideal place for working. So we were always keen to keep our studio space as somewhere that we can come in and collaborate. However, you know, we still had to follow the government guidance. So definitely we've learned how to do more of the kind of communication over Teams, and just stay true to our core values of like creativity and communication. Always keep those in mind, and you just have to keep talking to all of your team members, keep checking in, and that's really the way that we've done it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Abigail. Just sort of, I guess, a slightly different question, but, you know, since the pandemic, you know, the UK has seen an economic hit. There's a lot of people out of work, a lot of people having less disposable income. I'd love to find out how this has had an effect on your business's stability, and I guess what your plans are with that in mind in the future. And can I come to you again first, Noman?
Yeah, I think it all depends on at what level is your consumer base. For example, if you're looking at the luxury fashion industry, I think, to be honest, I haven't really seen a slowdown. We have a really luxury premium lifestyle sneaker stores in Dubai Mall, for example. We're opening one in Vegas. We have one in Le Bon Marché. And we just opened during the pandemic. We opened our flagship location in Qatar. So in terms of that aspect and in that section of the industry, we haven't really seen a slowdown. It's I think people who buy in the luxury section, I think they continued to buy, and that's been our experience. I think at what disposable income level we're talking about will obviously differ in different aspects. I think in regards to Crep Protect, because we're more mainstream and more commercial, we haven't seen a slowdown yet, because I think we're still having the aftermath of no restrictions. Everyone just really wants to go out. Everyone wants to buy new clothes, new shoes. So we really saw a massive spike when retail opened, which was really welcomed by us. And I think really seeing that spike, but not being naive really to think that's going to last forever. I think our main clients, we really focus on their journey and their growth plans. For example, if JD Sports buy a competitor or another retail chain in Southeast Asia and they increase their stores by about 300, naturally that's going to affect our growth. Same as Foot Locker, same as whoever. So really, we really focus on the growth of our clients, and we look at and we closely monitor those, and that really ties into our growth plans as well. So I think in terms of if we're talking about the UK taking a hit, we are a business that trades in 52 countries worldwide. So I think I would very much encourage businesses to get on that global, international, put your flag in many countries as possible. I think now it's become a lot more easier, especially with social media and the fact that there's a lot of fulfillment options out there globally that are very, very affordable. I think if you're looking at warehouse logistics and even entity-wise, there are third-party warehouses that create entities for you. They invoice for you, and they collect your account receivables and payables for you. So I think I would very much encourage SMEs to really just fly an international flag really globally, because it's a lot more easier. I'm not going to say it's so easy to do global business, obviously, but it's a lot more easier. For example, if we just look at leasing cars back in the day, it was like a taboo, like no one really leased a car, but now everyone leases a car because it's a lot more accessible, it's a lot more affordable, and it makes perfect sense now. So I think rushing to go global wouldn't be the correct term, but selecting certain countries that allow you, because when the pandemic did hit, it hit in different spaces. We were still trading very, very well in the USA, because as you know, the USA was split on the red states and the blue states, and depending on where there were restrictions. So our retail was still pretty strong even during the pandemic, because we transacted globally. So I think it's very important to really transact globally, but at the same time, if we're talking about the uncertainty in the UK, yes, there is. So I think having a contingency plan is important, but what's also important is if you're flying, carry on flying, because you need to because for us, our motto is always speed to market and create the bigger gap between us and the competitor. And our challenge in the office as always is anyone who comes up with the idea, if it allows us to maintain our premium price point, we're going to do it. If it's not, we're not going to do it. So I think it all depends on a different industry. If you're very much focused on an affordable low end industry, it's going to be more challenging, of course. But if you're looking at more luxury items and the high end items, I think we haven't seen that slow down. But I think even that'll probably, I might be wrong, but it might be representative even in the housing market. If you look at the high end housing and the properties, they still continue to flourish, but it's the more affordable that are taking a hit.
Thank you so much. That's some great advice there. Joe, what have your experiences been with, people having less money in their pocket? We talked about the challenges you faced at the beginning of the pandemic. How's that changed for you?
So I won't speak too much on this because it didn't actually affect us in a huge way. The reality at our end is when people start working with us, their business is already at a certain stage. Perhaps it's venture backed, or perhaps they're already quite profitable and they're really looking to invest. And at that stage in their journey, perhaps after 2 or 3 years, trying to raise the profile of the founders. So we haven't been massively affected in that in that respect.
Thank you, Joe. Dave, I'd like to come to you, and I'd like to sort of tack another question on the end that's come in from Dan Flanagan. So we're talking about, you know, how we're navigating people maybe having less disposable income, but Dan also asks, you know, financial growth is one thing, but how do you measure your social impact and the wider change? And I think yours is reasonably obvious because it's right central to what you do, but I'd love to find out from the other panelists as well after that.
Yeah, so for us, that's why we exist, to have a social impact. You know, we're business first, because business, but it's what we do with our profit that makes our social impact. And so we're always trying to work. And so how we survive, it's, you know, our product has to be great. We have to get repeat customers. We have to, you know, we're not just a feel good bag company that you buy it and it's rubbish and then we don't get customers. So we're really working on product, trying to get that. But for us, the kind of making the SME work for us has been learning to really craft our story. And we would use a term, we're a story brand. You know, we make the customer the hero, we're guides in that. And so for us, it's that. We started 7 years ago, hit COVID, obviously, we've survived that and probably thrived it in many ways for us. We were one of the first one-for-one businesses here in Northern Ireland. But the place is getting flooded with one-to-ones and social impact and so forth. So we've taken that to the next level, one, because we wanted to be better at our social impact. So we went through a year-long process and became a certified B Corp, alongside already being a certified social enterprise. So we could basically put our flag in and say, look, this is the most important stuff to us, to be good for people and to be good for planet. So as a people first business, we're then learning how to be even better at the kind of environmental stuff. So we're making some choices around that. So for us, I believe that social impact is key to business. For us, one of the things that has really been the growing part, it's now 50% of our business is the corporate space, B2B. So we have been able to, in the last year, sell into we've partnered with Shopify, and we send out to Canada and New Zealand, and which is amazing as a little brand that started with £500, because we've got a really strong story and a great product. But it's learning how to tell that story and then reporting on that story. So I would say, you know, social impact. What I would say is stay away from. There's a trend, I think, out there where you think you have to do social impact, so you just find something. And what I say to people is, you know, find your black bin bag story. So for us, it's black bin bags within a big story of the care system. And we've really nailed that. That's our drive, our passion. But if you're just tagging something that you put behind your cashiers, or that we do this, it actually, you might as well just keep focusing on your why, which is your main product. And because I think people, consumers and public, see through that kind of business. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, I think. Sorry to step in. When we talk about that subject on sustainability, how I see it is, if we're talking about sustainability, yes, we can look at sustainability to the environment, but yeah, it has to be sustainable for business. So it has to be sustainable financially. It has to be sustainable for you. It has to be sustainable for your client base and also your culture. So I think with the imbalance only focused on sustainability for the environment, yes, it's one aspect, but I think it just needs to be sustainable for business, because then you just lose what you're trying to do.
I like the way that the founder of Patagonia says that we're not a sustainable business, we're a responsible business. And I think that's our call as business leaders as we move forward, is to every decision to be a responsible decision. Does this impact our staff? Does this impact our customers? Does this impact our communities? And is this good for our environments? And if we're making decisions, checking everything against that, then we're going to be great. And I feel that then we are great companies that will survive and thrive in a future, because those are the right decisions we should be making.
I think they are fantastic points. Joe, Remy, Abigail, is there anything that you'd like to add on to that?
Yeah, I would just mention, if you really want to include some social impact into your business, look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and then just kind of focus on one or two of those rather than trying to save the whole world all at once. It takes little steps. So take a look at what the UN's doing, and we can all make baby steps together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go on, sorry, Joe.
I was just going to say I don't have a lot to add, so I didn't want to take up time.
No worries. Well, I've just glanced at the time and I realised that we're sort of closing in on the last 10 minutes. So I think it's a really opportune time to ask this question. Now that we're in 2022, I'm sure that you've all looked back and discovered what went well for you, what didn't, come up with action plans for the year. Looking back, if you were to deliver sort of your key lessons, key takeaways that you've taken away from the last 2 years, and what are you putting in place to ensure that this is successful going forward? What would be your key lessons to anybody listening in on this call? And I'm going to come to Joe. I'm going to come to you first.
Brilliant, thanks. So it's an obvious one for me, right? My entire business is around personal branding, but I'd encourage everyone listening to this to think about how many people you've met face-to-face this week from Monday, so we're at Thursday now, or how many people that you've spoken to over the phone. If you can think about what that number is, and then think in a different scenario, what if you were speaking to that same audience, but online? First of all, you'd be able to do that very easily through one piece of content, perhaps a video or uploading a photo and sharing a business milestone. But secondly, you'd be able to reach a much larger audience. I think we've seen it now. We're inundated with kind of thought leadership style content on LinkedIn and Instagram and every other social media platform that we go onto. However, there are still so few people actually creating content. And when you think about what you're actually doing, it's really simple. You are step by step building up your reputation in the same way that you would with somebody when you meet them. And you're making sure that you are kept at the forefront of their mind for when they need a new partnership, when they need to stock a new listing, whatever it is. I think it's a really effective way to do things, especially now people are more online. So I think as a takeaway, it's that there's a huge opportunity to scale certain parts of business, certain parts of marketing. And if you look at top of the funnel marketing, it can have a real direct link to your reputation and your personal brand. So that's one key takeaway from me.
Thanks, Joe. Abigail.
I would say don't let location stop you, because there was a time where, if you lived in Sheffield and then the client lived in Brighton, they'd be like, oh, well, I'm not going to work with you, or I'm not going to buy from you because you're all, you're far away. But now with COVID, those barriers have really crumbled. So you can work anywhere you want. If you want to collaborate with the United States, then go for it.
Brilliant. I love the way you got crumble in there as well. Always on brand. Rimi, can I come to you?
Yeah, but I just want to say, if your business got through COVID, I think you can get through anything. I think that would have been, I think for some businesses they thrive, but some suffered and some have to change. But if you can get through a pandemic and that kind of, economic instability, then I think it's amazing that you've got through that. I think it's just to move really dynamically and really quickly with how trends and kind of the economic conditions change. For us personally, we're building on our team. I think we wouldn't have been able to do it just the two of us, and just building kind of a key team that can bring knowledge kind of to the table that we don't know, that can really drive the business, and also just to focus on brand building. But as a business, if you are in that fight or flight mode, and it's a bit of a cliche, but cash flow is really difficult, and it is the one thing to affect kind of the small businesses, any size businesses. But if you can just look at your re-strategize, look at your short-term goals and your short-term gains, look at your low-hanging fruit. What can you do to bring cash flow into the business and keep, allow your business to survive, over that period? So yeah, it's just re-strategizing, re-looking at your goals and acting dynamically.
Thank you, Rimi. Noman, can I come to you?
I think without mimicking what everyone said, really, is they're all very much valid points. I think for us, again, don't want to repeat what anyone said. It's looking at your cash flow and looking at priorities, but at the same time, being very careful of not to go in panic mode and just stopping all spend. We actually increased our spend in some departments because we knew when this is over, we need to hit the ball running, the ground running. Sorry, so we didn't want everything to go back to normal and then we start supply chain again, start remarketing, because we still had to remind our consumers that we were still here. So it's important to have a clear priority list and be clear on what are the things that need to be focused on when things do get back to normal. For example, when brick and mortar came back to normal, we had a warehouse that's full, ready to deliver. We had a team and very much ready to react to our activation team in malls. So it's about being careful on spend, but at the same time not have the illusion of just stopping spend. So that will be a key point for me.
Fantastic.
I think just to add to that, I think it is important to bootstrap when you can. So to kind of spend as little to go as far as you can. But then on the other hand, when you do have money I always remember somebody told me, economize when the sack is full, just because you do have money. But yeah, spend it on necessary things, but be mindful about what you do spend on.
Fantastic, brilliant advice. And last but by no means least, in sunny Northern Ireland, Dave, can I come to you?
Yeah, my simple thing is don't do it alone. The reason I'm still here, the reason I'm still thriving is I've got people on a board around me who, when I'm feeling low, when I'm feeling like it's time to give up, they're the ones saying, Dave, go for it. And when I'm the one who's fired up, they're the ones saying, go for it. So don't do it alone, and then grow your culture as a team, because we probably had our most difficult, best business year in 2021 and our most difficult because we let culture go. And so we're rebuilding that again. So don't do it alone and build culture.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our panelists today for sharing your expertise and knowledge and being so honest and open. Great British Entrepreneur Awards, really proud to be working with Vodafone to bring conversations like this to the community that are really important, and bringing people together, from Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. Technology really allows us to do that and to have those conversations, and it's fantastic. It's been great to run our first Disruptive Minds session. Look forward to the next one, and look forward to carrying on being connected with you all and following your incredible business journeys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.